You know, hours after Governor Abbott vetoed a total ban on THC products in Texas, lawmakers are having a lot to say about this. Our next guest is State Rep Brian Harrison. He is a Republican from Midlothian in Ellis County, and he joins us live here in studio. It's good to see you in person. You and I always speak on Zoom, so thanks for coming in.
Great to be here.
You are the only House Republican who called for a veto for this, the only one who voted against this as well. What was your reaction to this late-night veto?
Well, it's just unfortunate that it had to happen. It was a necessary veto. Look, we're Texas. We've got a reputation for leading in freedom and liberty, but we are coasting on that, and in many ways, several of the bills this session, including SB 3, we are continuing on a progressive path towards California-style nanny state government, and we are trampling individual liberty in the process. And while I appreciate the intention behind SB 3, I think it was overly broad, it was government overreach, and it was going to have the effect of pushing millions of patriotic, freedom-loving Texans into either incredibly dangerous black markets or too much more addictive pharmaceuticals. So I welcome the veto.
And so it was surprising that it came so late here, that, you know, a half hour, 45 minutes before the deadline.
Yeah.
But Lieutenant Governor Patrick, we heard a moment ago, said, listen, by vetoing this, the governor is suggesting to us that he wants recreational marijuana in this state. Would you go that far?
I'm not going to get in between the governor and the lieutenant governor on this issue. What I care about is protecting individual liberty for 30 million Texans and shrinking government. And after this absolutely unmitigated disaster of a liberal train wreck of a session, of which SB 3 unfortunately was a part, what I care about right now is doing whatever I can do. If we're going to have special sessions, it needs to be on the things that matter much more to Texans than this.
You talk about liberal train wreck. People hearing this are saying, listen, this guy's a Republican saying this? What are you talking about? Republicans are in Austin. Let's talk about Senate Bill 1, it's a Texas budget, and you called it the most bloated liberal budget in Texas history.
I do.
2 years ago, we've discussed this several times, 2 years ago, the state budget was $321 billion. This session, $338 billion is what the legislature passed. Fellow Republicans tell me, I asked them about this, and they say, listen, Texas is growing. Just look at all the people coming in here. We have to account for that. Why is that not the case?
Well, of course, Texas is growing. First of all, those numbers aren't exactly apples to apples. Let me tell you the facts about our budget. And it was the most bloated liberal train wreck of a budget in Texas history.
Passed by Republicans, created by Republicans.
People confuse the word Republican with conservative. And unfortunately, especially when it comes to politicians in Austin, just because you're a Republican, that doesn't mean you're a conservative. In fact, odds are you're not in the state of Texas. And that's a surprise to a lot of people, but it's true. The liberal uniparty in Austin all comes together to grow government and restrict freedom. And that happened on steroids this session. But look, let me tell you a couple facts about the budget. Yes, Texas is growing, but Texas hasn't grown 42% just from this budget cycle to 2 budget cycles ago. And that's what this budget represents, a staggering 42% increase in state funds just from 2 budget cycles ago. And let me tell you what this budget also does. It doubles down on DEI, it doubles down on liberal gender ideology, and on California-style corporate welfare. For crying out loud, we voted to give, not me, but the legislature, Republicans, voted to take $1.5 billion, steal it from the back pockets of hardworking Texans and hand it to rich liberals to move California, to move Hollywood here. It's that type of stuff that is absolutely outrageous. So I actually think the big story today shouldn't be the veto of SB 3. The big story today should be all the big government liberal bills that were not vetoed, like our budget.
Let me ask you about THC, the bill SB 3 there, a lot of rhymes there. But what do you expect to happen on that? The governor says, come back, let's maybe consider something the House had, a little more narrow, not this broad ban. What do you think the House and the Senate are actually going to come to an agreement on? Or will they come to an agreement in 30 days?
I don't know if they will come to an agreement or not. Although, unfortunately, there's been way too much agreement happening in Austin. And what that usually means is government gets bigger, spending increases, taxes increase, and that's what we saw. I don't know what will be the end game on the SB 3 issue. If it's things that are much more narrowly tailored, that talk about restrictions on hemp products similar to like we have for alcohol, that's the type of thing that people like me, I think, could be more open to. But an overreach and just a complete and total ban was way too much down the road towards progressive-style nanny-statism than I was comfortable with.
We have 45 seconds left here. You want Governor Abbott to include property tax, more property tax reduction, or even elimination in his call for the special session here. Listen, nobody likes paying property taxes. You're talking to number one right here who hates paying those property taxes every year. But how are cities, school districts, hospital districts supposed to operate without that money?
Well, believe it or not, 3 cities in the state of Texas already have gotten away with ended property taxes on their own, so we know it can be done. But also cutting government. And let me tell you, if we're going to go to Austin one more time after this liberal train wreck of a session, and we're going to do just one thing, it better be the biggest failure of the session, which is finally putting our state on a path to eliminate property taxes. I've identified $90 billion that we could cut out of our budget. We could cut people's property taxes by about 40%, and we could do it today and put ourselves on a trajectory to eliminating property taxes. And yes, of course, we could still have money for local governments, roads, police, fire, and bridges, all things that I support.
Coming from the state, the state treasury, the state wallet?
We would switch to a consumption style.
Okay.
There's multiple plans on how to do it, but the point is it can be done. We know it can be done, and here's the biggest point. It has to be done because right now no Texan can truly own their homes, and we are taxing Texans out of their homes to fund the liberal progressive left's agenda in the great state of Texas, and it's got to end.
State Rep. Brian Harrison, Republican from Midlothian. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Always great to be with you.
Appreciate it.